giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom! Hey, man. It's time to take a look at this Cowboys offense versus this Falcons defense, and I promise you, if this is not the week of a complete game, heads need to roll. Seriously. Gonna break it all down from the top to the bottom, and I got some help. Yep, I got some help coming through, so keep it locked. Bit of a surprise, didn't tease it. Sometimes I like to just pop up on you, right? So make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Got one of the best at taking a look at film, jumping in on this show with me a little bit later, actually, in about 5 or so minutes. So keep it locked, Cowboys Nation. Plus, in the roundup, we have a huge roster update. Don't know what it means, but it is a roster update that had to happen, as well as the first practice report of the week. Good morning, Bomb Squad. How we doing?
Bomb Squad!
Real quick, I gotta get into the roundup. But congratulations to the LA Dodgers who won the World Series. I was just talking to, who was it? $100,000 yesterday. And I'm like, hey man, I want you guys to push this thing 6-7 games. You know, I don't like 3-1 series, sweeps. That's boring, right? They got up 5, what was it, 5-0 or something like that, and then they squandered the lead, and then it was back and forth, up, down, 6-5, 7-6, and the Dodgers finally pulled it out. So shouts out to them. Shohei Ohtani gets his ring. Maybe what's my man's name over there, Mike Trout? Maybe he'll see what Ohtani did and say, you know what, maybe I should leave the Angels. They ain't never gonna win nothing over here. But a different discussion for a different day. Congratulations to the Dodgers and all the Dodger fans. Let's get into this roundup now.
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time.
It's time!
Time?
It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you. Yeah!
Let me talk to you, Cowboys Nation. So we talked about this yesterday in regards to DaRon Bland. They had to make a decision. I thought the decision was easy. They were going to activate him off IR, and that's exactly what they did. Here's why they had to make the decision. Because if they did not, then he would remain on IR for the rest of the season. Now, there seemed to be some confusion around Cowboys Nation with, we got DaRon Bland back. Not so fast, my friend. Not sure just yet. Because, again, if you did not activate him off of that, then you wouldn't have DaRon Bland back all season. But they did. But if you look at the practice report from yesterday, DaRon Bland still did not participate. I just don't know what to make of this. I don't know what to make of him. I don't know what to make of Kalen Carson. Michael Parsons' injury, to me, again, it's a high ankle sprain. Those usually take roughly around a month and a half, 6 weeks, right? So that seems about right to me. Kalen Carson's been practicing full for 2 weeks and he hasn't played, just weird. And then DaRon Bland, full a couple weeks ago, DNP setback. And here we are, first practice this week, and he didn't practice again. I'm just, like I said to one of the callers yesterday, when it comes to Bland and it comes to Carson, I'm just sitting back and just, look, man, holla at me on game day. I mean, obviously, if he doesn't practice all week, he's not playing. But even if he practices today and tomorrow and Saturday, let me know how he feels on game day. I don't really, my expectations are low for him returning. And now it's like, well, who's closer to returning, Bland or Micah? Well, I thought 1 week Bland, right? Because he was practicing. Then 1 week Micah. Well, he never was practicing, but just because Bland had a setback. It's just really hard to get excited about either of them returning because we could eventually be putting ourselves in such a hole that it may not matter. Hell, it may not matter in general, but you get what I'm saying, right? Brandon Aubrey also didn't practice. He's all right, though. He finished up jury duty, so we'll get Aubrey back. Ryan Flournoy was limited with an ankle injury. Eric Kendricks limited with the shoulder from last week. I expect him to play. Maris Leafau, he practiced in full. Jordan Phillips practiced in full. I don't know when they're going to activate him. They got 3 more weeks. Maybe they just continue to put him on a pine to see if it'll change his mind. Now, this can't be right. John Stevens. Hold on. Wait a minute. John Stevens shouldn't be up here. Wait a second now. That just threw me off right here. Yeah, this is strange. Wow. Who put what? Oh, this was okay. That's my bad, y'all. I'm glad I caught that John Stevens one right there. So that was last week's. Let me run this back one more time. Okay, here we go. Deron Bland did not practice. Kalen Carson full. Linval Joseph did not practice. Let me pull this up for y'all real quick. Let me do this one more time for the one time. That just threw me the hell off here, man. So just forget about seeing who was that in there? Stevens. Everything else, we're going to add Linval Joseph and Zach Martin. Zach Martin did not practice with a shoulder, and Linval Joseph did not practice with the back. Everything else remains the same here. And then, of course, we heard about Trayvon Diggs and the calf. And Diggs talked to the media yesterday. By the way, did y'all see he gave, who was that? Mike Leslie a can of nuts as an apology. But you know what? Let me say this because I was loud in his criticism. I thought it was weak how he responded. Obviously, he thought it was weak as well. But he did come out and say, man, I let my emotions get the best of me. I apologize. Him and Mike Leslie made up. They're good to go. Shouts out to him. That was big of him. That was mature of him. And that's what you like to see from who's supposed to be one of your top guys, leaders of the team. So shouts out to Trayvon Diggs. I do think, though, Linval Joseph and Zach Martin are bigger deals than maybe being let on. We'll see with Zach. Zach is clearly the last few weeks playing banged up, and he hasn't been himself. In fact, he's been not good, if we're being completely honest, right? Like last week we were laughing at Zach a few times in some place. But Linval Joseph, you're already down a lot of players on defense. And he's an older guy. I'm not saying he's going to move the needle, but he's one of the only legitimate nose tackles you have on this roster. And if he can't play this week against that offense, well, that's why I say is a shootout brewing. That's exactly why I say that. But again, everything else remains the same. Aubrey, jury duty. Bland did not practice with the foot. Carson, shoulder. Kendricks, limited with the shoulder. Carson's full, by the way. Micah didn't practice. Jordan Phillips, full. Nick Vigil did not practice. So just add Zach and Linval to that previous practice report. Apologies for that. Today's a big day. Hopefully you get a couple of these guys back. But I will say this. Defensively, even, you're not getting Micah back probably this week. That, he's not practicing, so I doubt it. You're likely not getting Deron Bland back. Even if you get Bland back, maybe without Linval Joseph, you maybe without Kalen Carson, your defense, I don't think, is going to be stopping this offense for 4 quarters. Right? I feel like this defense at some point, hey, man, they'll fight maybe early, maybe late, whatever. But at some point, I feel like the Falcons offense is going to do what a lot of these other offenses, good offenses, have done to you over the season. And that's go on these spurts, whether it's, 21 points unanswered, 28 points unanswered. I think at one point in the Saints game, they scored 7 straight touchdowns or something crazy like that. So I don't think it'll be that bad, but I do think the Falcons offense has a chance to go on one of these spurts where they're just scoring a lot of points, which is why today's breakdown is important, because the Cowboys offense is going to have to keep up, in my opinion. Would love to be wrong on it. Would love for the Cowboys defense to have its best outing of the season against one of the top offenses in the league. But, I got to be realistic here. I don't think that's going to happen. So I need the Cowboys offense to match the energy of the Falcons offense, right? In fact, when you go break down this Falcons defense, a lot of who they are kind of reminds me of the previous Cowboys teams, in the sense their defense isn't dominant. Their defense isn't really that good. They have some talented players. As a collective, I don't think they're a great defense, but they are aided by their offense. Teams know they can't stick to one thing or the other because they have to keep up, right? So you look at this Falcons defense, there are ways you can get after them in both the run and pass game, but they're going to make you play at their pace, the Falcons that is, if you can't make stops defensively. If you can't make stops defensively, then the Cowboys are going to have to be what they've mostly been, and that's one-dimensional, but we shall see. We got our guests coming through here in a few minutes, so y'all just hold tight. Yeah, so the practice report, let me see if I can, while she's doing that, y'all know how I am about visuals. Let me pull up the visuals so y'all can see it. I always feel like it's better to kind of see the practice report. Let me do that right here. I mean, you ain't gonna be able to see this ever. It's kind of tight, but it is what it is. Let me go ahead and download this and I'll pull it up for you, because I know I confuse a lot of people to start off the practice report. But I'll run down it one more time as we wait for our guests to come through. Here we go. Brandon Aubrey, jury duty, did not practice. Deron Bland, foot, but he has been activated off of IR, but he didn't practice, so we don't like that. Kalen Carson, full with the shoulder. Trayvon Diggs did not practice with a calf. He seemed fine with the media. We shall see, right? But Linval Joseph back. He old. We know that's going to happen. Eric Kendricks, he's still limited with the shoulder. Zach Martin didn't practice with the shoulder. Keep an eye on that one there. He's, again, clearly banged up. Micah Parsons didn't practice with the ankle. Sounds like don't expect him to play. And then, sorry. Jordan Phillips, full. Nick Vigil did not practice. Sorry, y'all. Let me just give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. There we go. All right. Y'all know what time it is, man. It's time to break this thing down. But we got some help today, baby.
Break it down.
With 2 eyes. Good morning.
What's up, man?
How you doing this morning?
Man, you got me up doing the early. You know how you do.
Yeah, I see all my friends like you, Vach. I make y'all get up, drag y'all up in the morning, crack of dawn to come on here. That's why I say I appreciate it, because I know y'all don't usually be on here doing work this early.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, let me say you're a little muffled, so I don't know if that's.
I'll fix it for you. I'll fix it for you.
I gotta be able to hear you, Brody.
All right, go ahead.
All right, no, that's great. No, I mean, I know clearly, I've been getting up earlier, but it's just, I don't know, it's starting to get a little chilly out there, sky.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Like 1,000,000 degrees outside. You want to stay in the bed a little bit longer.
Hey, well, you can't stay too long because you are, a co-host now on the DLLS podcast, where you guys are doing some fantastic work over there. So once again, appreciate you. Before you have to head in over there to rap with me about this matchup, which I don't know if you heard me, but I was kind of teasing that if they can't get it going this week against the Falcons defense, which I respect all my opponents, but when breaking down all these defenses, this is the one, 2I. This got to be the one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at their secondary is interesting because they do have some guys back there, AJ Terrell, Justin Simmons, which it sounds like they're going to be. I know that he was questionable, but I was actually on a Falcons podcast last night with Tuck. Shout out to Tuck. And it sounds like there's a big possibility that Justin Simmons is going to play. You talking about Jesse Bates, Richie Grant does some things in the slot for them. I mean, they got some guys on the back end. I would say that that's the strength of their defense, if there is going to be a strength. But you can still pass on them, equate big plays, and also too, I just think that from my understanding, they're not getting what they expected out of Judon either. So they're kind of going through something similar as the Cowboys, where they're not getting pressure with 4 consistently, and it's killing their secondary in return with big plays.
Yeah, I said this at the top of the show. They have some talented players individually, but as a unit, they're not a good unit. And that sounds like the Cowboys defense for the most part. They got a lot of good individual, not a lot, but when they're healthy, they have a lot of good individual players, but as a unit, they hadn't been playing good this year. But, well, Sky, who is this Falcons defense? This Falcons defense is led by defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake, okay? You might say, what about Raheem Morris? Yeah, Raheem Morris is the head coach now, and he's not calling the plays, but it is his defense. And Jimmy Lake is a guy that he's had a relationship with. And when he was in Tampa as a head coach, Lake was there. And then last year when Morris was a defensive coordinator, he was under Morris as well. So, I went and did some research and saw that, Coach Morris even said, hey, look, Lake and I share the same core beliefs and like-mindedness. So they're likely running the same scheme that Morris has been running for the last number of years. And if you remember, the Cowboys went up against Raheem Morris last year with the Rams, and they had a pretty good game in that game. Dak and CD were money pretty much most of the day, and you even had Brandon Cooks go off. And that was, if you remember, that was the game following the bye week where we start seeing more of kind of the modern version of an offense. And it kind of clicked and things started to roll for the Cowboys from there on.
Yeah, and the thing about them is when I was, the Spider-Man meme, when I was watching them, because it's literally the same way when you look at, like you said, they got a couple guys on the back end. I got a lot of respect for AJ Terrell. I got a lot of respect for Jesse Bates. I got a lot of respect for Judon. I got a lot of respect for some of the linebackers that they draft. I think they grabbed Brooke O'Rourke, who I thought was a good player as well. And it's just they're allowing a lot of they're not tackling well. They allow a lot of yardage after contact as well. And, that when they blitz to try to get pressure, sometimes they bring some of their linebackers and try to do some things. I've seen a couple corner blitzes, and they're just not getting home. So it is very reminiscent of the Cowboys in a sense. So it's like, how do the Cowboys game plan against them? I think it's going to be important. I don't know if you felt like this guy, but last week I felt like the Cowboys, even though it wasn't pretty, I did feel like in the first half of that game, we're getting a little bit of movement from the offensive line. And so I'm hoping that they can at least establish some type of run effort against a run defense to this extent. And, again, like talking to the Falcons guys last night, like they are betting on the fact that the Cowboys can't run against the Falcons. And the Falcons, they actually line up in a lot of light boxes. So I'm hoping that the Cowboys can find some success running the ball against.
Yeah, let's compartmentalize. Let's break it down. Let's slow it down. We'll start off with the Falcons' run defense and see how we can attack it. Then we'll get to their pass game, pass defense, pass rush, secondary, all that good stuff. Each week, I usually talk to my viewers about pounding the table. Hey, I would love to find some balance, right? I would love for the Cowboys to find some balance and some commitment to being balanced with the run and pass, because you just can't. It's not sustainable to go out and be one-dimensional every single week, especially given this team, this offense, this scheme. You have to, right? And it never materializes. But last week, the running back room got strange, right? It looked different. You had Dalvin Cook who called up. You had Rico Dowdle who got sick, and then Zeke became the lead back. He had the lead duties. Now Rico spoke with the media. I don't know if you were in there at the time, but he spoke with the media the other day, and he said he wanted to play, but his temperature had hit 102, and it became out of his hands, and it was up to the staff, and they only had a few minutes to make the decision. So they said, hey, we're going to inactivate you, which I thought was interesting. Why not use that extra 90 minutes to see if he gets better? If not, then he just doesn't play. I mean, what's the difference between, having, Zeke and having Zeke, Cooks, if Rico can't play, and Hunter? You still have Zeke, Cooks, and Hunter. So I didn't understand why they didn't just let it play out. But he said not long after that, his temperature dropped, the symptoms went away, and he could have freaking played.
I know.
Oh, brother.
I know, and honestly, I was actually excited about getting the opportunity to see him, because I think that if we're just being honest here, they're not going to go grab anybody. They're not going to do anything different. So it's like, okay, watching Dalvin Cook, I felt like he still has a little pop in his legs, man. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to do a whole bunch to make guys miss, but he can still get vertical, and I do think he has a little bit more acceleration than what we've seen really from the other guys. So I kind of was like, seeing Rico and him kind of in tandem is something that I'm trying to see this game, truly.
That's interesting. I'm on the other side of the Cook. I'm still TBD. Wait to be decided. Wait to see. What did he get? 4 carries? I think it was in that game. I think he got 4.
Yeah, no, he didn't carry the ball much. I just think I think I'm ready to see them, those two, and see what they can bring.
Yeah, the reason why I said that is because I didn't see that pop. I didn't see that burst. I didn't see that any explosion. I personally think that Rico is still your most bursty, explosive, back right now. But it's hard to tell with Cook. He only got 4 carries, so we kind of got to wait to see a little bit more. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree in that regard. It more so. Oh my God, I just dropped Congo's treats everywhere. I agree. It's just more so. I mean, the offensive line wasn't really opening up things, too much. But I felt like when he put his foot in the ground, you could see that he had a little bit of burst, and that was what I saw. But that's okay.
I want to see. I want to see him give the same hose to Cook that they gave a few to Zeke and see what he does with those two.
Listen, I mean, and that's the thing about what's going on with this offensive line. Well, not even that. We heard Mike McCarthy say some contrary things about the running back by committee thing.
Oh,
and
I'm talking about that tomorrow. Yeah.
I'm sure it made you laugh a little bit, but when you talk about the running back by committee thing, like I think I said this at the beginning of the season, I just think the Cowboys take stuff too literally sometimes, man. Like yes, running back by committee, quote unquote, is something that more teams are doing across the NFL. However,
most teams are doing duos.
A committee typically consists of maybe 2 guys, but there is normally a main guy. And what it's making it to me, I think this makes it difficult on your offensive line as well, Sky, because, offensive linemen block differently for different guys. You can give one guy
personally, you shouldn't do that. You should, but go ahead.
No. What I'm saying is the style of running they do is different. Like if you're an offensive line and you're dealing with a Le'Veon Bell back in the day, he's patient. He's going to wait a little bit longer for things to progress, and then he goes. And then, maybe with a different running back, you're sitting up here like, okay, well, he burst through the hole immediately. That's what I'm saying, Sky. I'm not saying that the offensive line shouldn't be blocking well for everyone. What I'm saying is, even talking to some of the guys in the locker room, yes, it is different for different guys. Certain guys can attack certain angles. Some guys can bounce to the outside. Some guys can't. So I think when you talk about some of the cohesion of the offensive line, they're not really getting the opportunity to find a rhythm either with a specific runner. And that's something that I've been kind of bothered by this whole time as well, is that there's no unison with the running backs and the offensive line to me.
Well, I mean, they had the blueprint in their building. I said this in the offseason. I said this last year. You had the blueprint in your building for 2 seasons when you had a tandem with Zeke and TP, and you decided not to replace Zeke with a younger or better back than a Rico Dowdle, and you didn't even use Rico Dowdle in a tandem last year. So, okay, here we go. Next year, you come out and you say, all right, we're going to run committee. In my mind, I'm like, okay, run committee, but you have to have a complementary backfield. And those who watch the show know I don't believe that ever was the case from the rip. And here we are now trying to figure out what is, to me, is basically the same backfield. There's nothing different in that backfield. The only different guy you really have is Deuce Vaughn, and Deuce is just he's not your guy right now. So you got an offensive line that doesn't run block well. You got a scheme that isn't that great, and you got backs who are very average at best right now. So it's a cluster F. But with all of that said, the Falcons can be generous against running backs. At least in the last 4 weeks, they've given up 4.8 yards per carry to running backs. I'd like for them to be able to get some balance and commitment to it against an offense or a defensive line that's really not that good to me. Outside of Eddie Goldman, it's a light front, and you can move these guys. Now, the difference from last week to this week, San Fran played very wide. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but they had a lot of width in their alignments, and that actually helped Dallas a whole lot. But Atlanta's going to play a lot more condensed. So the hat-on-hat thing we like to do, it'll be tested. But these dudes don't have dudes up there. And I love Grady Jarrett. I think Grady Jarrett's great, right? But he's more pass rushy guy, and he's not even really killing it in that sense. He's about 32 years old now, so he's clearly slowing down. So if you can't move these guys who are light in the butt, if you can't get to the second level of these linebackers who I don't believe are attackers, right? Troy Anderson may or may not play. He hasn't played since week 4. Then there's just no hope.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually looking for, we're talking to some of the Atlanta people, they're looking forward to Damone Harris, one of their DNs. He should be returning this week, and he sounds like he's one of their better run defenders, and he looks like one of their better run defenders. But, yeah, to your point, I think that their linebackers aren't the strongest coming downhill, but they also run a lot of nickel, those guys. Did you notice?
Well, the league is a nickel league, and Raheem Morris lives in that. Like, that's his thing.
And we've seen, cough, cough, wink, wink, what that looks like against, a team that decides to run the ball. And so they're having a lot of those issues. They're having a lot of those issues because they are a smaller unit, in a sense, to your point. So I agree. I mean, this is a big game where the Cowboys can take some of the things they did well last week. Again, I agree with you. Yeah, the Niners, specifically Bosa too, like he lines up in that wide nine, and it does allow for some spacing and stuff because of how they're lined up. So I'm looking at Dallas's ability to maybe attack the edges. I don't know if you're wanting them to run up the interior. What did you see?
Is Rico playing?
I 100% believe that Rico's playing, and I 100% think that Rico's going to get more snaps. If
Rico's playing, then, yeah, let's attack the edges with Rico. Let's not do that with Zeke.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, he doesn't have the speed to capture the edge anymore. Mm-mm. I wouldn't do that either. No.
Nah, he even seems more comfortable finding green, between the tackles. I don't think he has the same vision, burst, agility as he did, years ago. But if you give him some green like they did against San Francisco, he'll get downhill if it's blocked up, and he'll get you some positive yards. So he looks way more comfortable doing that than when they toss him the rock outside and make him try to capture the edge. So, yeah, if Rico's here, that's fine. I think you can run on them in any way you really want to, but you have to have that's my main thing, too. You got to be committed into the how you do it, into remaining balanced. Because as much as I think, and we'll get to the passing offense in the second here, pass defense, as much as I think you can drop back and you can throw on these dudes too, because they have, in my opinion, a loose defense. We're going to talk about it. You don't want to do that 45 times in a vision defense, because they're going to say, I just need you to mess up 1 or 2 times. And that changes the game. Yeah,
and that was something that I noticed. Like, I will say that they're a bit manipulative with how they use Jesse Bates. They'll drop him into, like, sometimes he'll come down and help with the run, but sometimes they'll kind of let him, I believe they kind of let him free roam in the sense of, like, to your point, with that vision defense and look for the quarterback and look at the quarterback's eyes and try to take the ball away. I mean, they had 2 turnovers last week. They are a team that can turn the ball over. So it's going to be important for Dak Prescott also, too, to make good decisions. And to your point, it's going to make it easier if you can establish some run. Because I will say that I feel like when you start running on them, they do get a little out of sorts. I would like to see the Cowboys. Am I tripping? I mean, it makes sense that they don't do any play action stuff like that, but I would like to see some play action this game, Sky, from the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, real play action. We call it run action over here. Right, because
I know.
They'll talk about play action, getting shotgun, and Dak will half-ass put the ball, make it. That's not play action. I like to see some. It's not in
real life.
No,
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, and this me, Scott. I'm not a huge fan of play action out of shotgun. Now I know that it can work, but
you have to have run
I
believe, to it. You gotta have a run action
yes.
to it. You can't just do a half-ass. A half-ass like fake draw type of. No, you got to have a lineman move and fake pull, right? If you don't do that, you're not going to move anybody.
No, especially with how defenses operate now. Like they just gonna be looking at you. They just gonna be looking at you, bro.
You know, and I always have this argument about play action. We're the worst running team in the league. We had Hunter Lipke in the backfield. We did an actual play action, run action where we pulled the linemen looked like they were running zone, and that was legit play action. And then Dak kind of rolled out, and we hit an over to CD Lamb. That's why it's important to have that type of run action, because you don't even need to be a good running team. Hunter Lipke's in the backfield. Nobody's scared of Hunter Lipke, but because of the action, it made those linebackers bite up, and you get CD Lamb wide open behind it. And I saw the same thing happen against. The Panthers did a good job. The Panthers, okay? We're talking about the Panthers. They got these linebackers to move and hit guys across the middle of the field. So I'm with you. I would like to see a little bit more play action in this game, mix it up under center, and keep beating the same drum here. And be a little bit more creative. Do you think that they're
going to – oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just saying, beating the same drum.
No. Do you think that they're going to shadow CD with Terrell?
I don't know. I haven't really studied enough. Like when I say studied enough, like looked at Terrell following. Right when I'm watching them, I'm just watching them as a whole. I don't know if he follows. If that's what he does, then so be it. But I doubt it, and here's why. And we can get to the pass defense right now. We'll kind of bounce back and forth. They don't play a lot of man. They don't. They hardly play any man. Like there's not a single defender in the backfield that has 50 man snaps. So, I mean, maybe from time to time they'll follow him, but I don't really. Based off of how what I've been watching, I didn't see dudes deliberately just following guys.
No, yeah.
I just saw a bunch of zone defense. They play a whole lot of probably more zone than anybody in the league, if I had to guess.
No, yeah, they're heavy a lot more. They play a lot less man than what they did last year. I think a lot of it has to do with their lack of pass rush right now. And then obviously, too, it's just the scheme change. I'm not sure. Sometimes you can get those guys, like, I wouldn't say lost, but I'm also looking for Dak to be efficient at the line of scrimmage, given what he sees, and maybe take advantage of some of their confusion on the back end, because I do think that with them running zone as much as they do, there are times where they have some slip-ups and some guys are out of position. Oof.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I got to stop doing this, right? I'll watch teams that play Kansas City, and I'm just watching these designs, and I'm just like, oh, like that right there. Put that in the playbook this week. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's Andy Reid. I don't know what I'm thinking here. We'll never put that in our playbook. And I'm just like, look at this. No, seriously, though, man. I watched that again. I watched how they attacked. Again, I'm going to go backwards here. I was going to start with their pass rush, but let me go backwards. I watched how they attacked the middle of the field. I watched how Philly did it. I watched how a lot of teams, even the Saints don't even bring out 3-4 wide receivers. They bring out 2 receivers and 2 tight ends and let's go. But they do things to you have to do things to stress this zone defense. So let me kind of start backwards. Last year when the Cowboys played the Rams, like I said, that was the first game out of the bye week, where they started doing the very first play of the game. They did a exit motion, so you start seeing a lot more pre-snap creativity, right? But they also stretched that zone defense. They put a lot of pressure on that zone defense. They expanded them, and then they took advantage of it underneath. You see teams doing a very similar thing against the Falcons. The Falcons are not going to let you throw balls over their head. It's just not going to happen. There's been like 5 instances where that's happened this year. But where you can get at them is on the intermediate level. But you have to be just a tiny bit creative. Right? I'm not asking you to be Andy Reid, although, man, there was some cool concepts they did. I'm probably going to clip up and show on Twitter. But I would love for them to just kind of steal a couple of those things. They put a lot of pressure on the zone, and you can easily tell when it's zone. They're not moving with guys. You can get the numbers advantage. You can have 4 dudes on 3 defenders, 3 guys on 2 defenders. Push that safety and corner out the way. Send the tight end underneath. Send an over route in the middle. Bow, and you got 2 wide open options if you want. I've seen that happen repeatedly on this defense. Now last week against the Bucs, Baker Mayfield started feeling himself a little bit, and you saw him trying to hit some of those designs on the boundary, and he threw 2 bad interceptions. I tell you this right now, that's one thing you cannot do as a Dak. You cannot try to get a press and play hero ball and throw into a sea of 3 guys over there, because they will intercept them. Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons is the most talented safety duo in the league.
Oh, absolutely, man. The way that they come downhill and the range, Sky.
Yeah.
Like the range, like they can get from one side of the field, and that's something to me. You know, when you talk about Dak Prescott and some of the things he's struggling with right now, it's, you know, we talk about, okay, well, it's some of the hero ball, some of him just trying to make something happen. But a couple of these interceptions, I'm not sure he's seen the safety. I'm not sure, and I think Jesse Bates specifically has the ability to do that. I think we're going to see Jesse Bates line up in the slot as well and do some things. I'm looking for. Listen. I understand that Jake Ferguson is still dealing with a knee, but man, not being able to attack the middle of the field, to your points, guy. Yeah. It's hurting this offense, and it could be huge in a game like this. To your point, to stretch that zone.
Yeah, this is a defense that you have to attack the middle. I mean, I thought you should have did that against the 49ers, and when you finally start doing it against the 49ers, it start working. I mean, it's just. Oh my gosh, I don't understand, man. It was all on film, but it's the same thing with this one. It's all on film. You have to stretch these guys, this defense. You can't just run a bunch of curls at the sticks or before the sticks. That is just not.
They don't welcome that.
It's not going to work. Right, that's what they want.
Yeah, they welcome you doing little short, intermediate things, and then them being able to keep things in front of them and come downhill and tackle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and to your point about, you know, some of the motion and stuff like that, I mean, oh my gosh. One thing that I saw from their linebackers is, they can get caught peeking. There's still some. I'm not going to say it's. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't think their linebackers are that great without Troy Anderson.
No, they're not. They're not. And Troy Anderson is a big part of what they do. He's kind of the heart of that front seven, I will say. And I think I feel like talking to the Falcons guys, he might play.
Maybe.
What is he dealing with? You know?
I just closed it out before I got on here. I just closed it, but he's been out since week 4. But I can find it for you if you want.
I thought I wrote it down. Barnacle. I think I'm not sure if he's gonna play today. Well, this weekend. But I will say that there is a chance. It sounds like there is a chance, or they're trying to figure things out, or whatever the case may be. But
trending in the right direction was the words I was reading.
Yeah, that's what some of the Falcons guys said to me last night, and they're really hoping that he's able to get back, because to what they were saying is like, they got a couple young guys. They got J.D. Bertrand. He played next to Maris Luafau at Notre Dame last year, Royal. So they got some young linebackers that have been in and out right now, and without Anderson, it's been difficult for them to play their keys and stuff like that. To your point, last week I did see, it wasn't consistent, but we did get to see Mike McCarthy do some at snap motion, some, just some motion in general. I want him to be perfect.
They barely did any. They did 12. They at snap motion 12%, which is lower than their season average. It was pretty
literally
pathetic.
12%. But they did it. They did it in a couple of key moments, and it actually did help. Like I mean that.
Yeah,
that
they
fourth
did
down
it.
play.
They did it during the comeback, and then the last possession of the game, they did none of it.
I have never seen anything like that, Sky. Because you know when you watch football, it is, to me, it's just inherently natural to see what works and to say, okay, this works, and it just was like with our Dan. I mean, and here's the thing, like. I get, you know, Mike McCarthy spoke about, you know, the protection and how the protection is dictating what he can call. And I'm sure that the protection and the penalties have something to do possibly with them doing motion. We don't care.
How is that?
We don't care.
That's terrible excuse. Put a
That's
pin in
what
that.
he said, guys. What he said.
He also said there was going to be a running team, and he wanted running back by committee. Then 6 months later, oh, you know what? I never wanted running back. He's a liar. I don't care for what Mike McCarthy has to say.
Oh my God, Sky.
Mike McCarthy's a big fat liar.
You're really done with Mike McCarthy.
I'm done.
with Mike McCarthy.
Hell yeah. I was done after the Green Bay game. I don't know how you bring him back.
Facts.
How do you bring him back? That's mind-boggling to me.
I'm a bit over it too. Like I am a bit over it too because like I said, I think even if you look at, and I talked to the Falcons guys about this, they do have a couple players on that offensive line, but their offensive line isn't uberly talented. But you know what? They do things that work for them. They get their guys out of space. They're aware that their offensive line isn't powerful, but they're athletic. And then to the other side of that, because their offensive line isn't super great, guess what? They have guys that in the run from the running back position that can make something happen. It just sucks. Like, man, like, I mean, we're in such a weird spot with the running backs and, you know, the way the offensive line is playing right now, Sky.
Yeah, it's a frustrating situation to be in. Put a pin though in the McCarthy scheme thing, okay? Because I got something for you here a little bit later. But let's kind of let's talk about this Falcons pass rush because that is something that they are really, really struggling with. And this is another reason why I feel like if this isn't the week that your offense isn't able to like really put things together, you know, consistently move the ball up and down the field. And even when they get into the red zone, I don't think they're a strong red zone defense either. But the Falcons pass rush, listen to this. They're last in quarterback pressures and pressure rate, last in or 29th in total quarterback pressures in general. That's with having the 13th most pass attempts. You know, so it's not like, oh, well, they don't have that many QB pressures because teams don't throw the ball. No. Teams throw the ball on them pretty decently, right? And they're last in quarterback sacks. They only have 6. And last week, the Cowboys offensive, or the rookies, right? Cooper Beebe, Tyler Guyton, you know, these guys are coming off of their best game, really, of the season, it seemed like. And this week, Terrence isn't going up against one of them ones every single play. This offensive line should be able to hold up, not only in the pass protection standpoint, but we talk about in run game. They don't have dudes in the, like Eddie Goldman's a big guy, but he's the only big guy, and they don't have backers like that. So I feel like this offensive line should be able to get some movement, like you said, and they should be able to pass protect, which means that if you game plan it right, you should be able to hit some of these spots, move the ball up and down the field, and score some points.
No, I agree, man. Like, again, it's like looking in the mirror in a sense a little bit when you look at their defense and how they're and how they're constructed and their inability to get pressure. To your point, the stress that it puts on their secondary, despite their secondary being good, and they got young guys right now at the linebacker position. Again, sounds so familiar. I will say that I think with Dallas and how they attack things. Listen, Sky, you said it earlier. This game has turned into, to me, I mean, I feel like maybe every week we're saying this, but this game feels like kind of the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of feels like if you're not able to get a dub here, it could really start feeling kind of icky. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yes, if you don't win, it's definitely over. But I'm just specifically asking for this week to be, for the offense to be consistent for four quarters. Like, if you cannot be consistent against this offense or this defense for at least 3 of the 4 or 4 quarters, there's heads need to roll. I don't know what else. You're not going to. It's not like you're going to go up against the worst defenses every week. You're going to go up against some defenses that could do some things against you, man. And if you can't score or move the ball on these guys,
Man, yeah, they should be at every level. You know, there's somewhere where you can attack. And again, I'm curious to see what the Cowboys' game plan is. I'm hoping that they come out and they try to, you know, go up quickly and stuff like that. Because people can say what they want to say about Kirk Cousins, man, but I think he's having fun in Atlanta and that system there.
Kirk is spinning.
I watched some of your breakdown yesterday, and then I did my own study before that. And man, like this Atlanta offense can they can really give it to you in a lot of different ways. So it's important to me for this offense, the Cowboys offense, to be able to go blow for blow if they have to, and to be able to go down there and score.
Let me bring this back real quick. So I happen to go listen to Marty. God, I do this all the time. I happen to go listen to Schottenheimer's. I like to do this. When we're going up against a team, I go listen to what the offense coordinator said, defense coordinator said, and we kind of incorporate it within the show, right? And, you know, I think Shotty, in his latest presser, he said something that might have went unnoticed or, you know, should have been picked up a little bit more. But let me kind of set this up. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I was kind of beating the drum earlier in the offseason that, hey, man, we might see more motion this and at snap that and all this, because when you listen to Schottenheimer, he was really fired up about it. When they asked him about motion, he got extremely fired up about it and said exactly why this works and why we should be doing it. And then we see none of it, right? So while we don't really see that coming out, we see more of what Mike McCarthy has done for the most part of his career as a head coach, right? It's West Coast static, West Coast principle, static offense, et cetera, et cetera. Sprinkled in with some of that motion from time to time. And there's been this, how can I say here? There's been this notion that, you know, Schottenheimer is just as culpable with this situation in Dallas with the offense. And I've kind of been pushing back on that thought because I'm like, I don't know about that, man. This he don't run West Coast. Shotty is much more aggressive in pushing things downfield, you know, from a scheme wise. He's way more Earnhardt Perkins than he is West Coast offense. He's way more, you know what I mean? He's way more Ernie Zampese than he is West Coast offense. Yeah. And you know, I get it. They have a relationship or whatever. But then I went and listened to this, right? And they asked Coach Schottenheimer, they said, you know, what's going on with separation? Why are you guys having separation issues? And he was like, you know, it's been inconsistent. And his solution is what made me say, take a listen to this real quick.
Again, at the end of the day, we're judged on making sure we get enough separation. And I would say it's been inconsistent and something that, you know, we're always looking for ways to do that. How do you do that? You create bunches, you create stacks, you use formations and motions and shifts, things like that. But I would say all in all, it's been inconsistent.
What you say now, Chuck? The solution is what? Create bunches, create stacks, motion shifts. Does that sound like Mike McCarthy to you?
No. And to your point, to that point, Scott, when they did that in that little comeback, I mean, even I broke down that 4th and 4 play with Kevontae Turpin. Guess what they did? They went exit motion. They went bunch, and then they motioned them to the outside. And guess what? That created spacing. That created that little opening that was there. I mean, and you say it all the time. Create some conflict, man. Like you are literally like dictate coverage, man. Dictate what the defense has to do. Let's
focus in on it a little bit more. The 2 touchdown drives to get back into that game. Let me ask you a question. Did that look like West Coast Mike McCarthy offense?
Not at all.
No,
it looked like
they used a whole lot more offense. Pre-snap stuff, at snap stuff, more creative over routes, attacking the middle of the field, levels. It looked and it wasn't as modern as you would see nowadays, but it looked more modern. But here's my final thought in theory on why I think I don't believe Schottenheimer has juice like some people believe. When you look at the two instances for where Mike McCarthy stamps his game plan at, it's the start of the game and the end of the game. Look how the Cowboys start. Most of these games this year, it is stagnant. It's not creative. There's no it's very same stuff. And that's what happened in this game. This is the game plan because this is what Mike McCarthy does, and it did not work in that for the first like 2.5, 3.5 quarters, whatever it was. And then to end the game where Mike is like, all right, this is what I gotta get comfortable, right? I don't want to be out of my element, and he does the same thing. He plays with the width. There's no bunch. There's no stack. There's none of that pre-snap, snap stuff. There's none of that. So that's why I think, and again, I'll keep saying it, I would 100% move on right now and let Scott Tolzien and Brian and Schottenheimer run this offense and see if they can kind of get some more juice. Because again, listen to Shotty. He's fired up. He's telling you the solution to create separation. Yeah, he's telling you.
And he's been doing that. To your point, Sky, he's kind of been doing that. Like, I mean, Shotty, and you've talked about it before, is like when you talk, Shotty is not, he's football savvy. You listen to him talk in the way that, football just kind of flows out of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know that he's super keyed in, and he understands what the NFL is now from the commentary he said. And I just feel like, I've heard a couple people say, well, they can't fire Mike McCarthy because there's no one else to take his place. And I'm just like, that's how I feel. I don't believe that is true. I don't believe that there's no one on the staff, to your point, even speaking about Shotty, that couldn't pick up plays and maybe, have this team be a little bit more successful. I don't subscribe to that. And I also don't subscribe to the idea of, I think it would be weird, personally, to have Mike McCarthy just ride out this season if he kind of knows he's not going to get the job next year. I think it's weird.
Yeah, people kind of laugh when I said this earlier in the season when I was, like, hey, man, I'm ready to move on from the mics. And they're like, well, what do you do? And they're like, man, you can't have Schottenheimer as head. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not saying Shotty got to call the plays, although I think he probably still do better than Mike. But even if you give it to Tolzien, I'll say, hey, let's see what the young buck. Tolzien is younger. He played quarterback. So he wants to be a lot more creative than what Mike is doing. And then Shotty brings an energy. I think he brings an entirely different type of energy than Mike McCarthy. You're just like anything, first down. No, man. Shotty he'll definitely give a jolt of energy to this team, and then let Al Harris run the defense. And what do you got to lose, man? At this point, is how I look at it. What do you got to lose?
No, I agree. And on the other side of that, you mentioned Al Harris. Al Harris ain't never called no defense, but I don't think that he's incapable. I don't think he's. Yeah. I mean, he's been a secondary coach, but I don't think he's incapable of calling a defense at this point. At this point, Sky, depending on how things go this week or whatever, like for the betterment of your team, you got to make some changes. And when I say the betterment of your team, Doc, there are so many weeks left of football. We can't go through this every week. Like I just can't. Like, and I think, to your point, I think you will have to make some changes to inspire your team as well. And I agree. I think that Schottenheimer is, even last year, I used to kind of view him as the Dan Quinn of the offense, in a sense of he's very relatable to the guys, and he has a passion for football that is very outward, and he's very vocal about it. And I think the guys do need a shot of energy right now, like with how things are going so far. But I do think that this matchup is something that they're taking seriously, especially coming off that 49ers loss. It seems like a lot of the guys were.
I hope they take it seriously. This is crazy.
They got. I mean, what I'm saying is, I just think that there is a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
With this upcoming week, and I mean, do you feel a sense of urgency? I do.
Well, I'm not around that build. I couldn't tell you that realistically,
I'm saying
right?
For yourself. No, I'm saying for yourself and how you view things.
Do I feel a sense of urgency?
Yeah, Yes, don't you feel like this is this?
I felt a sense of urgency after we got our ass whooped by the Saints.
I'm tired of you.
So I've been urgent for about 2 months now. So yeah, you asking the wrong one, But I mean I'm not around there to know if they're feeling that way, but you are. So I do hope that the level of intensity is picking up around there. Because again, I get it. Most fans are checked out, washing the season. I totally understand it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If that's how you feel, that's fine. But these guys still have to go out there and play. These guys still have to go out there and coach, and they're not technically out of it yet. So, man, go out there and do something to get back in it and then see where you're at towards the end of the season. So I hope they have a sense of urgency. I ain't playing. I hope they got the damn urgency.
Man, on the defensive side, we saw on the practice report that Linval Joseph, although not super, so he's not productive really. It's still you possibly being down another guy.
Oh, against this team with Bijan Robinson and Algier, yeah, no, you gonna need bodies, man.
It makes me want to cry. So, what do you think the solution is for that if he can't go?
It's just gonna plug another body in there and try to get by, right? I said this yesterday when I broke down the Falcons' offense. Unlike maybe say last week or some other week, you can't just load up to stop the run. Like last week, you could have legitimately did that, and you will hope that you wouldn't get out schemed. And for the most part, granted, some drop passes, bad throws, and call back touchdowns that worked for you in the first half, right? They had 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. Everybody fills a gap, and it was like, oh, Jordan Mason, something's up. He ain't really hitting. And then towards the end of that half, Shanahan found out, oh, you know what? Something is wrong with Jordan Mason. Let me throw in Isaac Guerrero, and they got something going and come out in the third quarter, and it just right away they get the ball and they go down in 5 plays to score on you. So they figured it out. But this week, I don't know that you can load up. I don't think you can sell out. You can't sell out because this is a better passing offense, in my opinion, than the 49ers you were last week. So you just, man, you just got to hope that they don't gash you enough on the ground to where now we're in third and manageable and you can get some pressure on Kirk. Because if you don't get pressure on Kirk, he's going to dice you up. But Aisha, I don't know if you saw my thumbnail. The thumbnail says shootout brewing, meaning I don't think they're going to stop this Falcons offense consistently. So you're probably going to have to score a lot of points.
Yeah, man. I mean, that offense and what they're able to do. I mean, you talk about being able to touch every part of the field, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a point in the field that they can't attack, and not only attack, but attack effectively, man. I mean, it's just, number one, I know for you it's difficult to see, some of these OCs come in, these younger OCs come in, and what they're able to do and seeing what they're doing over there in Atlanta. And also, too, you can tell, and I said this on the podcast with the Falcons guys last night, you can tell that there's a belief in their system. And what I mean by that is, like, the blocking on the outside with the wide receivers, the way the wide receivers sell motion, the way that they they're committed to the bit. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And that's what makes it hard on defenses. And for me, I'm looking at, listen, they have a lot of speed as well, and just agility. And so for me,
hold on, don't blow past that. Don't blow past that. The commitment to the bit. Don't blow past that, because come on now, you're talking to me. Let me tell you why you're talking to me, because I'm not sure if you saw when you watched the show when I was breaking down the offense. I was like, go watch how the wide receivers and the tight ends and the running back, how they all run their motion. How they all are. Everybody is blocking. They use anybody at their disposal to block, and how they run their motion. You don't know when they're snapping the ball. Like they may have 3 different shift motions before the snap, and they're all run at a fast, aggressive pace. And go watch how we do it. Right? Okay, bet. Go watch how the Falcons receivers, during and after a play, or when I say after, I mean if the throw's not to them, if it's a run or whatever, the receivers are all committed to the bit. I have to run off this safety. I have to make this linebacker account for me. I have to make this cornerback turn it. And if they don't get the ball, it's like, bet I did my job. Then go watch how we do it. And I know I'm mostly talking about one guy, but if that one guy doesn't get the ball, you can't see me here, but my head's all up and it's the flailing of the arms. And it's just like, dude, everybody just go 100% so that, because you're important, whether you don't believe in the system or not, you're important to said play. And it's really frustrating to see as a fan when you watch other offenses, they're all committed to the bit. And we're just like, hey, man, I didn't get the ball, or it's not coming towards me, or let me go ahead and jog on to the other side. It's so frustrating watching this damn offense. I digress.
No, I get it, man. And what Zach Robinson has come down there and done with them, like I said, you can see that they believe in what's being taught. But also too, it's easy to believe in something when you see production out of it. And I mean, they're getting production from basically almost everyone on the offense. They're able to use so many guys to have success. And then we haven't even talked about Darnell Mooney and what he's brought to their offense as well, in addition to Drake London.
I definitely gave him some love yesterday.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Darnell Mooney was a low key get by the Falcons, and it's paid dividends for them. They got 3 players that average over 10 yards per catch, bro.
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney.
Well, 10 yards is for a receiver is okay, but here's the thing: there are 3 top guys, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and Pitts. They all rank in the top 15 respectively in yards for their position. Now Pitts ranks 4th, and they got 2 receivers that are in the top 15. So, like you said, they're having production through the air with these guys, and it's meaningful production. I think London got 5 tutties, right? I think Mooney has 4, and we just saw Pitts score 2 touchdowns last week. Yeah,
and Kyle Pitts has 3. And another thing too is like watching them. It's crazy too because, man, how a year can change things. Because last year with this Cowboys pass rush, man, if we've seen it, Kirk is one of the last pure pocket passers that there are. And I'm thinking about last year, and I'm just like, man, I mean, if we would have seen every time we saw a pure pocket passer last year, we were excited because we figured that the defensive line was going to be able to get home consistently. So it's a tough spot to be in, man. And so that brings me to my next question. If you are going to blitz Sky, because I believe you're going to have to get pressure on Kirk Cousins, where do you want that pressure to come from? Because to me, if you are going to bring pressure, it needs to be quick. So I'm thinking
middle.
They brought Overshown off the edge last week, but I'm also thinking maybe safety blitzes off the edge. Maybe you need to be able to, and you are taking a risk. Taking a risk.
They haven't blitzed safeties this year, and that surprised me because, you've seen that in Zimmer's scheme, but they also haven't really been able to do some of the things they probably wanted to do. But so you're saying blitz the safeties and corners possibly?
I'm asking you, what is the safest way to manufacture pressure with the blitz? Because I feel like, to your point, you said yesterday, you got to get home. If you are going to take the risk, you got to get home. I don't know. I don't see anyone on the defensive line getting home quick enough. Mm-mm. So you need faster guys.
I worry about blitzing the safeties. They're already not great in general. And if you take away a potential man to guard an area or a zone, then I just think he's just going to throw that thing up to London, or Mooney's going to run by somebody. So that kind of worries me. I would say middle of the field. I would blitz the linebackers, kind of how you did against I think it was the Steelers. I want to say the Steelers. Mm-hmm. They use a lot more linebacker blitzes, and here's why: he can't move. Like Kirk Cousins cannot move at all.
Yeah, because it's hard because, dude, when he's kept clean, 10 TDs on the year. When he's pressured, he has 6 interceptions on the year, and the majority of them are coming from the middle of the field. So It's like, I mean, we're like I said, like the things that you should do to be able to, to have an impact on an offense like this, you really just don't have the equipment to do it. So to your point, you are going to have to score points to put them in a position to at least, because if they don't feel the physical pressure from your defensive line, they need to at least feel the mental and emotional pressure of you putting pressure on them from
the
scoring
offense.
points.
Yeah, that's it's so funny. I said this at the start. The Falcons actually remind me of the Cowboys of not yesteryear, but of years past, where they don't have I don't think they have a good defense. I don't think they have talent in the secondary, but that's about it. But the reason why they're able to get by is because their offense puts pressure on the opposing offense, right?
Exactly.
Like you can't run the ball on the Falcons all day because you have to throw to stay into the game and play catch up. You just have to. And if they get up and they start getting on a roll, and now they're up, 14, 17 points, well, I got to abandon the run. That's how most teams look at it. And they're doing what the Cowboys used to do. Now, the Cowboys can't even do that, right? The Cowboys can't get up on teams and make them abandon the run because it's just their offense is just equally as bad at this point.
Yeah, man. So what's your so if you and this is my last question. I got to get out of here. But
Right? Yeah, I was about to ask you for your final thoughts, but go ahead.
Brody, I'm gonna ask you. So, if you are Mike McCarthy, what do your first 2 or 3 plays on offense look like?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a hell of a question. I wish I would have clipped up some of these Chiefs plays. I would just steal their plays, but. I mean, I'd like to establish some semblance of a run attack. I know a lot of people don't like to run the ball, but, man, if you can't run the ball on these boys, I don't know what to tell you. But I'd get some at-snap, pre-snap type motion, maybe using your fullback as a lead blocker with that motion, Rico Dowdle, you give him some cutback lanes in the zone. Next play action out of that, some crossers attacking the middle. Hopefully you don't get in the third down, but if you do get in the third down, now you got to stretch the zone defense. You absolutely cannot be a stagnant offense against the zone defense. You got to get them moving, and post snap, you got to be a bit creative. But that's a great question. Like a specific play, may not have it in my mind at this moment, but yeah.
No. I was just thinking, like, looking at their offense, well, their defense and how they're orchestrated, how you would think to attack them starting the game. Maybe that's too complicated. I should have told you. My bad, buddy. My bad.
Let me just say this: don't do none of that BS you did to end the game. How about that? That's all. How about that? What McCarthy need to do is just say, all right, here you go, Shotty. We'll just do what you want to do. But in closing, because I know you got to get going, you got a show here to prep for. Your kind of final thoughts for this game, going at least this matchup. I'm not gonna have you for the full game, but at least this Cowboys offense against this Falcons defense.
Yeah, man. I mean, we saw special teams have some issues last week. Just from I don't know if you guys tuned in, but man, Christy Scales on Monday did a fantastic. Special teams is her jam. She did a really good explanation about the penalties that the Cowboys were getting and why it was consistent. Now I think there was one of the special teams plays that was definitely just somebody being boneheaded. But the majority of them they were doing when they were getting in trouble for where they were positioned and aligned and things like that. I mean, C.J. Goodwin was pissed from what Christy said because, the ref placed him. The ref told him where to be at, and then they threw the flag. So the rest of the game, the guys were a bit anxious because it's like normally this is not a penalty, but you guys are calling it right now. So I'm looking for special teams to just be more efficient because quiet as kept, Sky, Kavontae Turpin has had some good returns this year. He's setting you up for the most part to be in a good starting field position.
Yeah,
I think that starting field position is important.
We need a touchdown from Kavontae Turpin.
It would be huge. It would be huge. I think he's close, and I think he's gotten close. I personally think that Kavontae Turpin has performed better on special teams specifically this year. I think that field position is going to be huge for this offense and the way they decide to go out and do things. But we say this almost every week, like threes ain't gonna do it with this with the Falcons offense. Like this team is going to have to your point about the run game, you're going to have to establish some level of a run game so you can, like, the lack of run game in the red zone is whooping your ass.
Oh gosh, man, it is.
Bro, and you know, a lot of people are just like punch it in and, you know, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, you should just be able to punch it in and things like that. But I don't know if you talked about it on your show. I know we talked about it on our show. Is, you know, Dak's legs and the usage of that. And we heard Jerry basically come out and say, like, that's not something they necessarily want him to do. Man, listen, scare money don't make no money. And this game is that intricate to me to your season. Like, I'm looking for Dak Prescott to do some things specifically in the red zone using his legs. Like, I might be asking for too much.
No, you're not.
But man,
I've watched 2022. I think it was in 2023. They had some good play calls and designs down there using his legs. I don't know why they went away from it.
I mean, Sky, you're watching the film. He's reading it. There are times he is reading the RPO and he's just not going. Like, I'm looking at him, and Dak is smart. I'm looking at him see what that edge defender is doing, reading him right, and he's not going.
Is he really reading though? Because he's just handing the ball off. Oh, if you're really reading it, you're gonna pull it and run.
No. You don't see his eye?
What I mean is, I think he's selling a read. I don't think he's legitimately reading it to be like, oh, if he crashes, I'm gonna pull it and run. He's not doing that. That's not happening. Like, it's just not.
He's not pulling and running, but I like I said, I think he's reading that he needs to.
I think he's selling the read. I think he's basically like, hey, look, it looks like I'm reading, so maybe you should stay on me. And in reality, he's like, I ain't pulling this thing. I'm never pulling this thing.
But it don't matter, because if he's not doing it, if they know on tape he's not pulling it,
that's my point. That's my point. So don't even run that play. Like, don't run it. Dude, it's a wasted play if Dak Prescott's not going to run. Clearly, he's not going to run. And clearly, Jerry Jones and them don't want him to run.
Well, it's a wasted play now, but if you put it on tape, to your point, he's selling it. If you selling it, then you need to let it go.
Let him let it go.
Let it go. If you're selling it, I need you to go. If you put on tape that you are selling it, this is a game where you need to actually throw the wrinkle in there to go.
It was a game last week. It was a game before. It was a game. It's been a game all year for him to do that. I think it's a wasted play if they're not going to let him run and he's not going to run. Get rid of it.
Oh my God.
Get under center.
Please, Guy, I pray. Like, get under center. Do play action from under center. Do something. Do something. I know I'm probably asking for too much, but that's like one of my only hopes this game, that we maybe get to see some of that, because I'm just.
Hey, watch yourself, hey Boogie. Ain't nobody slow in here but you. Chill out, brother. We understand we understand he's not the same runner. We totally get that. But if you're on the 5 to 7 yard line, he can easily get you 5 to 7 freaking yards on a read option. So chill out with the slow stuff, dude.
Man, I don't even need Sky. Here's the thing. Even if he gets 3 yards, 4 yards, and it doesn't result in a TD, just show the threat of it. I mean, just show that you will do it. Have mercy, because the defense don't have nothing. Like, the Cowboys' offense makes things so easy on defenses. At least make them have something else to maybe think about, guys.
You know what? You know how to make this easier? Like I said, why does it need to happen? I watch other teams with quarterbacks that don't run. They still have good run games. Because they're more creative in the run game. Like, don't do it. Just do something different. Add something different, more creative to what you do. You don't have to eliminate that play if you're not going to do it. Hell, if that's the case, how about this? Have a running back do it. Wildcat that thing.
Yeah. That would be really cool. But yeah, to your point, if you're not going to really run the RPO, just take it out.
Option. Yeah, read option. If he's not going to run the read option, then get rid of it. That's how I'm looking at it.
I agree, because it does feel like a waste right now if he's not going to pull it. And if you're not setting it up to be something to be done later, it is pointless. So those are my thoughts, man. And I'm looking for this young linebacker core and Maris Luafau and the Marion Overshown to match that energy with Bijan and the other gentleman that they have at running back. I'm sorry, it's slipping my mind right now.
Before I let you go, so Mike Zimmer was asked by Clarence Hill, your boy, about the safety situation, right? And he kind of was just like, nah, man, I'm not talking about it. And I took away as maybe he's talking about it behind the scenes. One matchup I said he absolutely can't run out there after seeing Dono get baptized last week is Donovan Wilson against Kyle Pitts. Do you think they will make a switch this week? I think they should. I'm hoping they're leaning it towards it, but I definitely don't think they should roll out Donovan Wilson or Malik Hooker for that matter versus Kyle Pitts.
Agree. I agree. I think you should see a Wanye Thomas or a Marquise Bell on a Kyle Pitts. I 100%. I don't think any of your safeties have shown the ability to cover a tight end. I don't think any of your linebackers have shown the ability to cover a tight end right now. So I would definitely, the safeties that are on the field, I would definitely throw Wanye out there as a wrinkle and see what you can do from that. I agree with you.
I would have did that last week, man. You knew you couldn't match up with no damn Kittle. As soon as Shanahan found out, he said, "Thank you."
Yeah, it's time. It's time, Birdie. Yeah. It's time.
All right, let me go ahead and let you get going before you get in trouble over there, man. I appreciate you coming through, 2i. As always, love talking ball with you. Swear to God, I do. Make sure to go check her out, DLLS Cowboys and DallasCowboys.com. Girls talk, boys talk. Thank you, 2i.
All right, thank you so much, Guy. I'll see y'all later.
Let me press this button. Got to get you out of here. Bow! Man, I could talk for hours, and sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll get so mad, but like, man, did you see this? Please watch it. Come on, Michelle, let's rap about it. I want to play this shoddy thing one more time before we leave because more people that came in, and they might have missed what I was saying about this. Again, let me start it all over here. There's kind of a thought process that, hey, man, Shoddy got some juice. He's culpable in this whole thing, too. I don't believe it. I don't believe Shoddy has much juice at all. Maybe he'll say something. McCarthy decides whether he wants to listen or not. But I think it's very evident to see when you're watching the offense week in, week out, this is Mike McCarthy's offense. And from time to time, you'll see these things that Schottenheimer talks about. But in the offseason, at camp, Brian Schottenheimer was asked about, the league gearing towards more pre-snap motion, at-snap motion, and shifts and these type of creative things, and he was fired up about it. He was talking about how we're going to do X, Y, Z. Come out in the season, we don't do that. And they were asking him, why are you guys having separation issues? Like, what's going on? And obviously said, we've been inconsistent with it. Guys got to be better, etc. But he gave a solution. And the solution, once again, he talked about motions and bunches and shifts and stacks, and that made me believe they're really not doing what he wants them to do. Take a listen.
Again, at the end of the day, we're judged on making sure we get enough separation. And I would say it's been inconsistent and something that, we're always looking for ways to do that. How do you do that? You create bunches, you create stacks, you use formations and motions and shifts, things like that. But I would say all in all, it's been inconsistent.
Mike McCarthy talk every day, something like that. This is a serious question because I told you I'm just so over him. But from time to time, I gotta listen because he gives an update or something like that. Plus my job, right? How many times have you heard him talk about it? Except when he was pressed. Remember, media is coming at him. Radio people, media attending his pressers, literally were throwing the whole motion thing at him. And you saw the annoyance that he had. And, John Parks brings it up to me. And then he kind of gives this roundabout answer that really doesn't say anything. But he was pressed. The very next game, they come out, they do a lot more of that. And the Cowboys move the ball better than any game they ever did. Gone. Not pressing him no more about it. They don't ask him about it. He doesn't bring it up. Because he doesn't fool with it. It's not who he's a old school West Coast style coordinator. And now it's starting to get louder in the mainstream. You're starting to see mainstream people come at this. I mean, they've kind of probably been already, but we've been loud about this for 2 years. They're now catching up. But then you got Shoddy talking about these modern things. And I believe truly if Schotty was running this thing, it wouldn't look like this. Because when Schottenheimer was brought here, first, he wasn't brought here as offensive coordinator. He was actually I believe it was a pass defensive consultant or something like that. Well, how's an offensive guy a pass game defensive consultant? What he would do is he'd go look around the league at what was working against defenses from the pass game. And then he'd give that information, or at least the upcoming opponent, he'd give that information to the Cowboys team / offense. So Schottenheimer knows what is putting defenses in a bind now. But he doesn't have the juice to implement it. He's given the OC by title. He's not the offensive coordinator. It's no different than when y'all call McClay the general manager. He's not the general manager literally by title or figuratively. He's neither. I don't believe he has the juice. They have a relationship, but at the end of the day, we're talking about a coach who's coached 30 plus years. He's going to do what he's stubborn. He's shown that he's stubborn. That's why you see these sporadic spurts of these things, these shots in an arm, but it's not a part of who they are. And until the Cowboys do that, you're just going to see this offense stagnant, sharp, straight lines. And then randomly, we got to hurry up and come back. So we do the things that usually work in our comeback: movement, creative concepts, at snap stuff. Oh, what do you know? Back in the ball game. Call me crazy, but I would 100% let Schottenheimer run this thing. Even if you don't want to call it, then let Tozin call it. I know, toxic. I know. It's just frustrating, brother. That's all. Let me get to a couple supers real quick, as I'm about to watch some Packer run game film and piss myself off. Why Packers? Well, because I follow this one coach and he shares a lot of kind of cool designs and things like that. Let me see. We had a couple of them. Shouts out to Keystone. He dropped 10.
Super chat.
Keystone said, if Atlanta put Drake London in the crossing route, it's a wrap. Never mind Algier, Bijan, along with Pitts. Yeah, Keystone. The whole reason why I have shootout brewing is because it's going to have to be, I think. I don't think the Falcons defense is that good. And if you can't score points against them or move the ball against them, then you're just cooked for real. But yeah, I'd love to come on here Monday, fry up some crow, season that thing, and eat it live. But I find it really hard to believe that this defense is just going to go out there handicapped and stop that offense. Would love to be wrong, though. 100%. And then still them boys.
Super chat.
He dropped 5 and said, we talking about the same stuff that we was having issues with last season. Yeah. Until you got to the bye week and they started doing some of that stuff. And they went on like this 7-8 game run offensively that I think blinded us. Until they ran up against certain opponents. And then what happens when you get tight, the pressure rises, you get to the playoffs, and you do what you're comfortable with doing. Similar to what happened in the last possession last week. Wash, rinse, repeat. Appreciate y'all for joining me this morning. Good stuff by 2i, giving us what she saw with her eye in the sky. Tomorrow we're back at it. We're going to talk to Patrick Nosey Walker, giving us the updates down there at the Star. Shouts out to Specs sponsoring today's show. Specs is your one-stop destination for unbeatable selections of beer, wine, liquor, and finer foods. Whether you're planning that party or you're just looking for the perfect bottle, I know Specs has got you covered. You can shop online, order through the app, and get curbside pickup, or they can deliver it to you. Great prices, expert advice, and the best brands around. That's Specs. Cheers to you. Cheers to savings. Yeah, Dre. The signs were there. The signs were 100% there. Okay, let me get up out of here. Press this button.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. If you missed it, make sure y'all run it back, man. 2 hours great per usual. She'll be live here in the next 45 minutes on her show, so make sure to go check her out and support. Hit the like button on the way out. Please, please, please. If you enjoyed today's show, share this thing and enjoy the rest of y'all Thirsty Thursday. Peace.